Ren Ferguson was the chief engineer for Gibson
Mm-hmm.
and Guild,
Okay.
and he's been a great help to me, talking me through things. And he put me up to making this guitar. It's all his fault.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Mike Davis, and Mike is a luthier in Mountain Grove, Missouri, right?
Mountain Grove, Missouri, the heart of the Ozarks.
And Mike has been building ukuleles for us for about a year now, and when I'm not looking, he sneaks in a guitar or two. And so today he brought over one of his latest creations, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about it, so you can learn more about what he's doing, and so you could get a chance to look at one of his guitars. Yes, for a time you were building guitars for Gibson.
Yes, sir. I worked for Gibson for 4 years.
For 4 years. What was your job?
And they're everything.
Oh. Okay.
And they built a new plant in Memphis, and I was living just south of Memphis at the time. And what they would do, they would send me to Nashville, and I'd learn how to run a piece of equipment, and I would bring it back and set it up and teach the person that was going to run it how to run it. So we ended up doing it all before it was over with. But Ren Ferguson was the chief engineer for Gibson and Guild, and he's been a great help to me, talking me through things. And he put me up to making this guitar. It's all his fault. He said, if you want to build the ultimate Gibson guitar, to build a 1936 AJ, which was for advanced jumbo. And in 1936 to 1938, Gibson only made 300 of these. And the reason being was because it was during the height of the Depression. And these guitars were going for about $85, and nobody could buy them. So they had to go back and concentrate on the $35 line. And this guitar was actually built by Gibson to compete with the D28 Martin. And what they did, the bracing was really wide and open in it to give it a bigger sound. This was started out as a jumbo guitar. Then they advanced the design, and it wasn't necessarily advanced bracing, as it's back then that was a selling point to have an advanced model. That was their point. They extended the scale to the full Martin length, which gives it more horsepower to make it louder.
It has a lot of punch. I've heard it already.
From that. And so when I was setting up to build this guitar, I had used a lot of Palfero wood before, and I really liked it, but I wasn't quite sure what it would do in a guitar.
Now, Palfero, you've told me this before. It's in terms of tone woods, it's somewhere in between mahogany and rosewood.
It's middle of the road. It's got a really pure tone to it. And it is bright. It's very maple-ish on it, but it is a beautiful wood, as you can see. The grain is just fascinating to me on it.
Well, I want to talk more about this particular guitar, but before we do this, it seems to me that it's a thing with you that you like the history. You like old Martins. You like old Gibsons.
Most definitely.
And so your project is kind of restoring the old models and making them accessible to a new generation.
Right. That's like most of the most desired guitars in the country today were built pre-war, is the term they used, before World War II. Hand craftsmanship was still reigning king. There wasn't mass production, so to speak. and the people really cared about what they were doing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a pre-war guitar, not just because of its age and the age of the wood, but because of the techniques and the design. And it's just the style. This style is not. It's you look at it and it reeks of old,
right,
yesteryear to you, but it has that diamond quality sound.
That
if you execute it right.
So old is new again. You're not interested in so much in the new technology and the new models as you are bringing the old ones and making them available.
My love was the iconic guitars, the Martin D18s and D28s, the Gibson J45s, and this is the predecessor to the 45.
Okay.
The A.J, as it's known, the advanced jumbo, and I love all of the historical guitars. Now the problem with the historical guitars, you can't make a new old guitar, so to speak.
Okay.
And because there were only so many of them made and only so many survived, so the price on the market now is just outlandish.
Right.
To try to get an original guitar. So I kind of took it on as my job. I want to people to be able to have and get a vintage guitar, or as close as I can get to it,
right,
and make it within their reach. And so that's what we do. I researched all the original construction techniques, materials, the finishing techniques, and I do my very best to bring you a vintage guitar.
And apparently you have access to some of those guys back then who were part of the designing process.
Oh, absolutely. I have spent hundreds of hours researching.
Yeah. Well, let's take a moment and hear this bad boy.
Well, let's do it.
I've had a chance to play Mike's guitars that are modeled after the D28 and the D18. Of course, we can't see them because they're already gone. He's already sold these things.
I have had to resort to building to order.
Yeah.
I thought I could build up a small inventory of guitars and travel around with them, but they're all gone, and I can only build like a guitar a month.
You do one at a time.
So what I'm doing now is taking orders, and I'm building per individual.
Well, I know on videos like this, people are anxious to hear. They want to see what it's like. Give us a sample.
Here we go with the Palfaro.
And this is a reproduction Gibson what?
1936 A.J.
Okay.
The A.J. is the important part.
Oh.
It's got the sustain.
Well, the sustain is killer on this on this guitar. It's still ringing. Okay, well, first of all, I have to say you have a lot of nerve bringing a guitar into a ukulele sanctuary.
I'm just mighty proud of what I've done.
Oh,
you were there with me when I started.
The spectrum of sound. You're right, it's bright, but the bass tones just ring out.
It does. The Palfaro doesn't have the overtones that Rosewood does. It's more of a pure, bright sound, very maple-like.
I've played your instruments before, and I've always been impressed at the intonation, up the neck, and the action. You seem to be able to not just build to the general mean, but you get that action just as fast and low, and the instrument as loud and pure as you can. I know this with your
Well,
ukuleles.
the playing part, that is your contact to the player. That is a very intimate relationship. And you either get it right or you don't. I want to build a guitar that people want to pick up and play, and after they start playing it, not want to put it back.
Yeah. Here's another thing, though. A lot of people buy pretty instruments, and they just hang on the wall, or they just look at, because the it's not giving back. This is a beautiful instrument, Mike. I think, I'm not sure I've played a finer guitar, but it gives back when you play your chords. It's a pleasing sound, and I think that this guitar, whoever ends up with it,
my number one pursuit from the very beginning was not to build a beautiful guitar, something that somebody wants to grab by. Tone. That the pursuit of tone, that is my driving force in life. Yeah. And anything that I can learn or do better, I pursue it like a bulldog to build a better sounding instrument. That's Mother Nature gave us this gift of wood and the materials, and I feel responsible as a steward to learn as much and make as much out of it, to take it as far as I can go, to build the perfect, beautiful tonal instrument.
I remember when I first met Mike and we were building our first ukulele, and he warned me about that. He said, my first priority is, this is going to sound good. It may not be pretty, but it's going to sound good. And so once he discovered that sound, then he started moving forward. And my goodness, you're turning out some beautiful work.
Well, I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Okay, just a couple of other things. Let's talk about your craftsmanship, because we see up on the headstock you've done some inlay. And you had to cut that out with a jeweler's.
I hand cut it because that's the only way I could get my name out of it. The diamonds and arrowheads are unique to this model guitar. The 36 A.J is the only Gibson guitar ever made with the diamond and arrowheads on it. And all that takes a lot of time and care to put in, but I enjoy every aspect of it.
And so the Pal Ferro, did you cut that from a block of wood, or how'd you get that?
The Pal Ferro I got in quarter sawn board form.
Okay.
And I saw it all down and plane it down to 1/8 inch thick, and then I go from there with it. And so this guitar actually came in, I think it was a 2x9 wide board, and the back, of course, is book matched. It's two pieces. You can't see it. I don't know if you can see it real good, but it's two exact pieces that were beside each other in the tree. Yep. And when you split them, you lay them open, and they're an exact match to each other. The top is the same way. Now, this is a special top.
Yeah, tell us, that's a spruce top, right?
This is a spruce top, but it is from the Carpathian Mountains in Ukraine in the high snow region.
Okay.
And it is almost an exact sister to our American Adirondack spruce that comes from upstate New York. The same elevation, the same temperature range, and the snow country in there. So I was lucky to get this Carpathian top, and that's what we used on this one.
Yeah. So you've been experimenting with different kinds of woods?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And different woods have their own unique properties for tone.
Yeah. And
it comes from wood density. It can come from different trees. You can get two boards out of the same tree and them have a different sound. Yeah. You have to learn to adapt to the pieces of wood that you're working with, how to adjust the bracing, the thickness of the top, to make it all work out and homogenize into what you want.
So you got this thing together, and I see that it's bound on the back and the top, and even the fretboard.
Yes, sir. This is the antique ivory binding, and the fretboard is bound all the way.
And again, I see your admiration and respect for history. I think the strap pin.
That's the only part of this guitar that's original. This is an end pin that was made. It was made out of plastic, but it is an actual vintage end pin, vintage ivory that matches the binding. But it was made in the 1930s.
Yeah,
so I have
awesome.
It gives the spirit to it puts the spirit inside.
Yeah. Well, I have two more questions for you before we go. Like when I think of bluegrass players, they're all playing D28s, right?
Absolutely.
Well, who needs this guitar?
This guitar needs to belong to a person that they can feel their soul when the music comes out because of the tone. Oh. This guitar has a very special tone. Mm-hmm. It'll do anything from John Denver to Foggy Mountain Breakdown if you want to. But this guitar is kind of a fits all.
That's the impression that I'm getting. Yes. That if you're going to have one guitar for your gig, this would be the one. And if somebody is watching this video and they say, "Hey, I want a custom built guitar that is an homage to the past, is an iconic guitar, and I want Mike to build it for me," what would they need to do? You
contact me personally, and let's talk and have a conversation about what you want to play, what you expect out of a guitar, and then we'll start talking about the selection of woods and what we need to do, selection of body style to get to where you want to be.
And then wait 3 years till it's done?
No, not at all. And I only take so many clients on, and I can get you a guitar usually within 2 months.
Well, then the other thing is I've played new guitars, and the salesperson will say, "Well, give it a few months and it'll sound better." But right off the bench, it sounds pretty nice.
That guitar has only been strung for 2 weeks. Not quite 2 weeks yet. People don't realize it, but when you first string her and put pressure on the guitar, you're putting all this pressure on the front. Well, the neck's going to pull this way. Mm-hmm. It's going to stretch the back, and it's going to compress the top. So the first couple of days, it's like a teenager with their voice changing. It's warbles, growls,
it's an adolescent,
and cries. And then about that third day, everything reaches an equilibrium as to where it's going to be. And then the sound starts coming in. The lacquer is fresh, and the lacquer has to harden. Yeah. So by the time your guitar is 3 or 4 months old, you've already got a tremendous sound. And to quote Chris Martin, today is the worst your guitar is ever going to sound. It's only going to get better.
It's only going to get better.
So if you start out with really good to start with, just think where you're going to go in 6 months or a year with it.
So what's on your bench right now? What are you working on now?
I am building a ukulele for a master player to take to a show. He requested for me to build the best that I could build with the best finish that I could build. And that's what we're doing.
All right, and when you're done with that, maybe we'll do another video, and we can talk about ukuleles.
I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, this is Mike W. Davis, a luthier from.
You can find me on Facebook as M.W. Davis and Company.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for bringing this beauty.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I hope to see it out, being played and making music the way it was intended to.
That's what they were all born for. That's why I'm here.
Well, I'll see you at the shop.
Appreciate it.
All right.